Hey everybody, it's Jake Mace, the vegan athlete. I'm so excited for this episode because I'm going to show you guys how I plant cactus. Not just any cactus, but edible cactus. Cactus that you can eat, or cactus that put off medicinal or edible fruits that you can consume called tunas. Most of the time I'm planting a prickly pear cactus called a nopales or a nopalitos, and they put off the prickly pear fruits. I really am a connoisseur of prickly pear fruits. I try to find the ones around that have the biggest, most juicy looking fruits, and I found about a half a dozen that are pretty striking. But in this episode, we're gonna plant this guy. This is a very special cactus because this cactus is known as the largest cactus on the planet. And his genus name is the Pachycereus Weberi, which is more commonly known as the Cardon Espinoso. And the Cardon Espinoso, they really do get, just incredibly huge. They're the Hulk of all cactus. They put off a beautiful flower that looks very similar to the flower that's put up by my Peruvian apple fruiting cactus. But these guys they could get up to 20 to 60 feet tall and almost 10 to 30 feet wide or greater. They live for a long, long time. And they put off edible fruits that you can eat the flesh of. But in addition to the flesh, you can also take the seeds of the fruit of this guy and you can ground it into a flower and use it as a flower. So I'm really excited to plant this guy, and my wife Pamela and I have discussed for the last 2 hours of where to put him because we wanted him to be a featured cactus in our yard. And we decided to be bold and put him right here in the front of our yard so that anybody who comes to our house or our neighborhood will see this incredible looking cactus like this, way out like this, as the first thing that they see when they come to our edible landscape. It was my goal when I first began gardening to grow a ton of cactus and Arizona natives that would be very drought tolerant but also provide food for me and my wife Pamela. So this is along the lines of those native drought tolerant plants that are also edible. Very important to eat your local cactus, your local trees, and your local plants, because you'll build up immunity and health that's well suited for your local area. So, the Cardon Espinoso. I'm gonna flash a picture on the screen right now of how these guys look when they're mature, and they truly are breathtaking and enormous. And so I wanted to plant this guy on camera because this YouTube channel, my Vegan Athlete YouTube channel, was kind of like a video journal for me. It's like a video blog, but a video journal. And this way I'll have video evidence in 5 or 10 years from now of what this guy looked like when I first planted him, because I know he's a rapidly fast-growing cactus who's gonna put on some serious growth very quickly. Are you excited? I'm so excited. If you guys are as ready as I am, hit the like button for me and subscribe to my channel, and let's get started. I'm gonna take this guy and put him in the shade for the moment so that he's not in the shock. And I wanna dig the hole for you guys. What you guys are gonna see in this episode is pretty much the soil mixture that I use for any cactus as well as any native plant, if it's native to the Sonoran Desert. So you can pretty much take this mix I'm gonna show you on camera and apply it to any cactus and any native shrub or native tree, like an ironwood, chupa rosa, nopalitos, Peruvian apple, things like that. We're gonna go right here. And usually what I do is I dig the shovel and I stand back and I kind of Michelangelo this thing, and I kind of think, that looks nice. I like how that looks pretty good. And I stand way far back and try to visualize what he or she's gonna look like when they're full grown. And I want this guy to shade my garden, but also shade our driveway. And we might put a garage on our house eventually, so we wanna have room for the garage as well. So how will I do this? Well, that looks pretty good because it's centered to the raised bed, but I notice it's not really centered to the driveway. So I may need to put it right here. And now what's gonna happen is you'll see the camera cut, and I'll be asking my wife Pamela, holding the camera for her approval. So Pam, what do you think of that spot? Okay, Pam and I discussed and she gave me the approval to go ahead. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna dig this guy in, and I pull the soil back like this. I've never shown, I think, a cactus planting or me digging the hole from scratch. It's always out in my wood chipped yard. So this is a great way you guys can see, if you're beginners, how to dig the hole from scratch. And as I'm digging it, I sprinkle the soil in a circular pattern around the hole so that I'm building a water well, because even though it's a cactus, I still build a water well. It's really important because that way, whenever it rains, this guy will have a little more moisture. We're in the driest, hottest part of Arizona, so we've got to give this guy a fighting chance and allow him to have as much water and good amended soil as possible. And by amended soil, what I mean is that we're going to add some things to this soil to make it dynamite. And then I'm going to try to get some more aesthetically pleasing bricks and make this area look nice around this cactus. And see, he's in like a 3-gallon pot. So the hole doesn't have to be humongous, it just has to be big enough to accommodate the 3-gallon pot. And what I found most often with these cactus is that when you take them out of the pot, all the soil breaks away from their root system because they probably were just recently potted, and they're not like a tree. Their roots, they don't fill up the entire pot. They're kind of small and loose. And I found this out when my wife and I planted a diamond cholla cactus that was her featured cactus of the year. My wife always buys 2 featured cactuses or cacti of the year. This is this year's, and the year before was a diamond cholla. I was holding him, putting him in the hole, and the root broke away from the cholla, and the cholla fell on my face. And I had cholla needles sticking out of my forehead that I was pulling out, and they were snapping out of my forehead. It was pretty cool. So that's kind of the finished product of the water well. I just kind of tap this down a little bit, and I don't need to have a crazy water well, just enough to eliminate any kind of runoff. Now the rest of the soil coming out of this hole is going to go into my wheelbarrow. So now as I continue to dig the hole, I'm going to save the native soil and put it in my wheelbarrow. And I'm pretty much going to put all this native soil back in the hole with some extra stuff added in. The reason why I'm digging the hole for you guys is because it doesn't take that long for a cactus. It doesn't need to be too crazy. But since this guy's going to be an enormous cactus, I really want him to have a sandy yet mineral-rich soil to extend his roots into. So I'm going to also take my shovel and hack out the sides so there's little pockets in the sides of the hole so that he can really dig his roots and anchor himself in, because he's going to be huge and he's got to be able to weather some micro bursts of wind during the monsoon season. Okay, my hole is pretty much done. You can see how I've taken gouges out of the sides, which will allow some little hiding places for moisture to go into. And that way the moisture can help to make this soil nice and livable for this Pachycereus Weberi, or Cardon Espinoso. And what a website I just read said that these guys love sandy, well-draining, mineral-rich soil. So there's the hole, you guys. And that's how big the hole is in relation to the Pachycereus Weberi. Right? Perfect. It's about twice the size, diameter, and about twice the depth. And now what's going to happen is I'm going to take some amendments and add them to this native soil that I've dug up in here. So now it's all light and fluffy. And first thing I'm going to add is I'm going to add this much compost. Okay, I don't care how much of an expert you are at cactus. I don't care what your educational background is. I have learned from the School of Hard Knocks what makes my cactus grow fast, grow healthy, and makes them have zero transplant shock. And it's what I'm going to show you guys right here. And so the key is not to add very much compost, but I want some living organic matter in there to give nutrients to this guy. So I put about that much in, just that much. It's really important. No more than that. It's only like 1 gallon of compost. And then to that compost, I'm gonna add a little bit of large lava rock. You guys, just that much. Don't overdo it, just that much, see? It's only about a cup of lava rock. It's gonna help to break up some of that soil. Then I've got some sand here, just typical clay sand that you would get from like a big box store. And watch how much sand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So far, 5 to start with. And then after the sand, I've got a bag of the granulated azomite. You can use the micronized, powdered form, or the granulated. I just had the granulated sitting around. You can get azomite from jakemace.com, but I'm gonna add this much azomite, the A to Z of minerals, including trace elements. That much azomite to the bottom of the hole. We're gonna add about twice that much after we backfill the guy in. You guys, that's it right there. That's the secret mix. Now I'm gonna take my shovel and stir all that up. And I don't have this stuff measured out perfectly every time. I kind of just eyeball it. But I do one thing. I try to put my mind into the mind of the cactus. And I try to feel what he would like to live in. And I try to look at the colors and at the quality of the mix once I'm done mixing it up. And then adjust according to what it looks like. So now look what I got. This is what it looks like. A lot of native soil, sand, lava rock, compost, and azomite. And it looks like pretty sandy, and that will allow for proper drainage for this guy. He needs that drainage. So that's pretty good, I think. But in my opinion, I'm gonna add a little bit more sand. Just a little bit, that much. And I'm gonna add a little bit more compost, just that much. And a little more azomite on top of the compost. I want this guy to really have that sandy, well-mineralized soil. The azomite has over 70 different minerals, including trace elements in it, that are really good for agricultural uses. So now I have definitely given this guy a native soil, sandy, nutrient-dense, mineral-rich soil that also has some lava rock for drainage mixed in there, and it looks perfect to me now. That is what it looks like, and that is as sexy as it gets. Sexier than a girl in yoga pants. That is the best mix for cactus right there. All right, now we're gonna put this cactus in, and we're gonna see if I can put him in without hurting him and also without hitting myself in the face, like I did last time with the Diamond Cholla. So here's how we're gonna take this cactus out of the pot. I got this old, kind of thick piece of fabric here that I use as a filter for my koi pond. And I'm going to wrap this guy right here around the needles of the Cardon Espinoso. Then I'm gonna kind of just hold the top part with one hand like this. It would really help if you had a friend, but I have no friends today. I'm a loner. So I'm gonna take this guy and let him just kind of dangle right there, a little bit on the ground so he doesn't break his needles. I don't want him to break the needles. And I'm gonna kind of lightly tap around the root system, around the soil, loosen them up. And then take the fabric and kind of hold him up as I kind of just slide the soil and the pot off of him. I'm going to keep the fabric on here and tip him over top of the hole and let the soil kind of just slowly slide out of the pot like that. And then he'll slowly slide off here. And as is typical cactus fashion, most of the soil drops off the pot. So now I always feel like at this stage, the clock is ticking and it's a race. The race is on. Can I get this guy in the ground and stable and good looking before he goes into shock and realizes he's naked? I'm gonna take this cloth here I'm gonna pull him up as I straighten his root ball in the hole, just like that. This is kind of how you do it when you got no friends and when you are all by yourself. And there we go. And I'm trying to give him at least like 2 feet, 1.5 foot to 2 feet of space between him and the raised bed, because I know this guy's trunk's gonna get to be enormous. Be really huge, I mean, as thick as a tree trunk. You guys saw the picture earlier in this video. So hopefully right here, he'll be stable, and if he's not, he's gonna fall over. I'm gonna just take the pot and use it to brace him just for a second while I mix up the rest of the soil in the wheelbarrow. So here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna take this lava rock, pour it in the wheelbarrow, take the azomite, rock minerals, take the sand, and pour sand in there, the same mixture we already added. We're just making it again in the wheelbarrow. And then take the rest of the compost right here and put that in there. That's the nutrients. Then watch me mix it up in the wheelbarrow here. Here we go. So don't forget, there was already native soil in there. We already put native soil in when we dug the hole, don't forget. So it's native soil, compost, sand, lava rock, azomite. You could also add worm castings if you want. I've done that before too. And that works really successfully. How's that look, you guys? You tell me. What you can also add if you wanted to as well is composted mulch. And so let's add some of that. Right here on the ground, I have mulch in the form of wood chips and pine needles that has been here on the ground for over a season. And you can see how when I dig down, it's already got some of the white mycorrhiza, mycelium growing on it. So it's got kind of some white looking spider webs all over it. So we can add a little bit of that composted mulch, not raw wood chips, because that will be too much carbon, but if the wood chips have been sitting around for over a season, we can add some composted mulch in there to also add some nutrients and some drainage. A shout out to my friends at the Desert Botanical Garden. This video is because I went to the Desert Botanical Garden's plant sale in Phoenix this morning at 7 a.m. and I got hooked up with these amazing cacti, but also some amazing native Sonoran desert bushes that will become pollinator attractors to my yard. Here we go. This is the mix that the Botanical Garden had in the soil. Look at that. So this is the experts at the Botanical Garden had the mix as this, and this is the kind of organic yet little composted mulch, little sand, little native soil in there, so it's pretty similar to the mix that I'm making, but probably no azomite and probably no compost. So I do that. And here we go, we're gonna add this in. Call this the backfill. We're gonna backfill them in, and I need to put soil here in exchange of this pot so that he can hold himself up. And look at that, he's doing it all by himself. All by himself. He's gonna be all by himself. And now he's kind of crooked. See that? He's kind of crooked. So I'm gonna now, before I finish it, I'm gonna kind of straighten him up. I might use my cloth for this too. Now he's more straight. I like to make him look clean. I pick out all the debris out of his needle structure to give him a nice clean look. Now I take like a stick, something like this, I kind of just brush all of the debris away from his needles. Kind of like you would adopt a dog from the pound and you would bring him home and you would give him a nice bath first thing. This is my new dog, so I'm gonna give him a nice little bath and make him look pristine. looking pretty good. All right, let's add the rest of this soil. Pour it in just like that, and then get the hands dirty. Move it around. And I kind of just maybe brush a little bit of the berm in there. Make it look a little nicer with my hands. Maybe pack down some of the large chunks and make them look a little more seamless. Take my stick, kind of brush the soil to the appropriate level and kind of match the level at which the cactus was in the pot. So don't put the dirt any higher or any lower than the pot was. And then kind of make sure that he's straight. And I kind of think that he's a little angled, so a little bit of an adjustment here. Just the smallest little adjustment back like that. And kind of massage some of the soil in there. And then carefully pull away without breaking the needles, and now he's straight. I love cactus, man. I love planting cactus because cactus, they grow really quickly. This guy's he's considered a fast-growing cactus. The saguaro, considered a slow-growing cactus. Prickly pear, nopalitos, another fast grower. And I found Peruvian apple are also a very fast-growing cactus. And I love watching them grow, and they don't take very much water at all. What I'll do is for the first year this guy's in the ground, I'll probably water him by hand once in a while. So for the first month, for the next month, the next 30 days, I'm going to water this guy once or twice a week, depending on the weather. So here's my hose. I'm gonna wash some of the soil in here, spray the berm to kind of settle any of the loose soil, wash off the cactus. There's his shower. And then put it on a low amount just like this. And the very first, the virgin water here, I'm gonna let this water really fill up his mulch basin, his water basin. And I'll probably let it go for about 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And that way the new soil and his root system is fully saturated with water. And what that's gonna do is that's gonna jumpstart the microbes. It's gonna be the catalyst that'll start the life occurring under the soil, and it's also going to make the cactus think that it just rained. And cactus always add flushes of growth and flowers and new arms when it rains. So I'm gonna simulate the rain right now, and then I probably won't water him for 2 days, and then I'll water him again on the 3rd day, and then I'll water him again about twice a week for the first month. After the first month, I'll drop back to once a week and just water him once a week. And then as the temperatures get cooler into the winter, I might just water him once every 2 weeks in month 3. Month 4, I'm gonna play it by ear, judgment call. You can choose if you wanna water once every 2 weeks still or once a month. And then hopefully after 1 or 2 seasons of him being in the ground on his own, he should just be surviving off of native rain. And that way he'll be a native and he'll be ready to go after about 2 seasons in the ground. The last thing I'll do here is I'm gonna add some mulch. And so I'll just kind of gather up some of the wood chips I have on the ground here, and I'll add those on top because cactus need mulch as well. That's going to also improve the bug life and the microbes in the soil, but it's also going to keep his new roots away from the blazing sun. See, he just doesn't have any roots yet. He's just a little guy. So you got to give him some help, especially the first year. You got to give him some help, you guys. If you guys have kids, you know what it takes to raise a kid right. And if you don't have kids, we all have the parental instinct inside of us. And so you gotta kind of apply that parental instinct toward your trees and your plants. You gotta give them what they need, but don't give them too much. You can't let your kid eat donuts all the time, but once in a while a treat is good. You can't give your plant, your cactus, too much water, but once in a while is good. And you gotta give them a hospitable climate to live in and a low stress lifestyle. You guys, that's the Cardon Espinoso. I'm really looking forward to coming back to you guys with updates about this guy. And if you guys come to my house for any of my garden tours coming up, we do about 1 tour and 1 gardening workshop per month. I want you guys to take note of this cactus and watch him grow. And I'm hoping by the time I am in my upper 40s, 15 years from now, when I'm 48 or so, I hope this guy will be taller than my reach, maybe 10 feet tall, and he'll have at least 20 to 30 to 40 arms. Let's hope. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you go vegan. Eat those plants that are in your garden as your sole source of nutrition and calorie intake, and also grow your own food at home. Subscribe, hit the like button for me, share this video with all your friends, plant some cactus, and especially plant some edible cactus, and I'll see you guys back here next time.